Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
And I'm Andy Sparks.
We're out here on Andy's deck, recovering from our trip to Denver and the Great American Beer Festival. You know, this is what, the fourth or fifth time we've gone?
Yeah, we've been a few times now.
It's pretty amazing. 49,000 total attendees in the 4 sessions that they have, and they sample beers from 540 breweries from across the country. Just incredible. If you can't find good beer there, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, it's almost overwhelming, you know, when you walk in there, how many beers there are to try and how many people there are. But it's an awesome time because you're around people that love beer.
Yeah, it's incredible. But just as incredible as the Great American Beer Festival are the breweries surrounding the Denver area, and we're going to talk about a few of those today. First off, we don't have any pictures, but we were, Andy was taking me from the airport in the car, and we drove through Aurora, Colorado, not Illinois.
That would have been a wrong turn,
the wrong airport. But you have to stop in Dry Dock, Brewing, because, man, Kevin DeLange and everybody there, they do such a wonderful job. And I think that I had the best Belgian IPA that I've ever had at Dry Dock.
Yeah, I had some delicious beer there too. They had a nice double IPA on tap. We've been there before in the past. They're good friends of ours, and it was good to see those folks again. Now,
the first evening, we were invited to Prost Brewing Company by listeners Casey Boltinghouse and Greg Nelson, and we met them and their family members there. We also ran into some other listeners there as well.
Yep.
But this is an incredible brewery.
Yeah.
It is a German brewery right there in Denver. They've got a 72.5 barrel system that was built in 1963 for a brewery in Grafenau, Germany. It was moved in 1984 to Bavaria. And Bill I, who is formerly of Dry Dock Brewing, who we talked about just now, is the brewer there and is doing some wonderful stuff with German lagers.
Right, yeah, if you like that German style of beer, lager style of beer, this is a place to go. They have a really nice facility, really interesting facility, kind of, as he was saying, dates, you know, back in the past, and everything is really looks fabulous. You'll really enjoy a tour of that brewery.
And just seeing the steampunk control panel was worth the trip for me.
Right, but high
really
quality
cool.
German beers for sure.
Yeah,
like
and they're also doing contract brewing for other people. One brewery that we're going to talk about in a minute. But one big highlight of this trip was being able to meet Mike Tonsmeyer, who's the mad fermentationist, who we've been talking to on Basic Brewing Radio for what, 6 years?
Yeah.
Never met in person?
Yeah.
We got to meet Mike, and he's writing a book on American sour beers that's going to be coming out here fairly soon, so keep an eye out for that. But we got to tour some breweries with Mike Tonsmeyer. One is the Vine Street Brewery, which is a sister brewery of Mountain Sun and Southern Sun up in Boulder.
Right, that's right.
And they have wonderful food there. They have more than 20 beers on tap.
Right, it's pretty amazing for what is basically a little brew pub restaurant, but they have a tap line of their beers that is as big as some of the best tap rooms in the country.
And they're all theirs.
Yeah.
The brewer, John Fiorilli, gave us a tour of the facility, and I tell you, you could eat off the floor. It was so well taken care of.
Yeah.
And the reason that they can have so many beers is they kind of, between those 3 breweries, everything goes into kegs. Nothing is put in serving tanks, and they can trade their beers back and forth between those breweries.
Between the 3 of them, yeah, it's really cool.
Very wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
I know I had a Saison there, and I had a session beer, a mild there, I believe. That were both, and you had some hoppy beers as well.
Yeah, of course I tried the hoppy, the double, and that's my nature.
But one of the breweries that's really making waves there now is Crooked Stave, the Crooked Stave Artisan Beer Project, and the brewer Chad Jacobson wrote a dissertation on the use of Brettanomyces in brewing, so he really knows his stuff. And he's just kind of making things up as he goes along. Right now, he's getting his beers contract brewed by Prost.
Right.
So most of what he's doing now is the fermentation process and using a ton of wood.
Right. So basically, this guy does stuff that is strictly Brettanomyces fermentation. So that's all that's in there. He starts with that, and that's all there is. But he comes out with some fabulous beers that are not overpowering in a funky way, but quite delicious. And yeah, a bunch of oak. That's pretty much everything goes into wood.
Yeah, you would think that 100% Brettanomyces beers would be overly sour, and really not approachable. But he's really doing some wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Now, some examples of what Chad's got on tap, and he's making this stuff up as he goes along. Some of these beers are just undefinable as far as the modern styles are concerned. He had a Surette Reserva Chardonnay barrel-aged beer, which I think was my favorite. Oculus, which was a Belgian-style golden ale fermented with Colorado biodynamic grapes and aged for 12 months in white wine barrels.
Right.
So, you know, this is stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. But I think it's going to be, they're going to be beers that people are going to be inspired by to do on their own.
Well, it was clear by the people that were at the facility and everybody that was trying the beers and enjoying the beers that it was really a hit with a lot of people, and I think it's going to be quite popular.
Now, every time we go to the Great American Beer Festival, we go to the Sam Adams Longshot brunch, and the Longshot competition is a homebrew competition that Sam Adams puts on every year, where they put together a 6-pack with 3 homebrews, and they announce the winners every year at this brunch. So we have to recognize James Shermer for his beer flower wheat, which was made with hibiscus flowers. Zach Adams, Magnificent 7, which features 7 American hops in that beer.
Big hoppy beer.
And Dave Anderson, who is the employee representative of Sam Adams, with his strawberry lager, which is also very good.
Yeah, quite tasty.
And we've got interviews not only with the winners, but of all the contestants in Basic Brewing Radio, so look for that. But also,
the highlight.
You've heard us talk about Jack McAuliffe on the audio podcast. He is the head brewer, owner, founder of New Albion Brewing Company, which started in 1976. Unfortunately, only lasted 6 years, but is credited as being the first real American craft brewery. Jack made this brewery from scratch.
Right, basically just decided he was going to build a brewery and put one together.
And the reason we've been talking about Jack is because he's moved to Northwest Arkansas. He's basically our neighbor and our buddy.
Yeah.
But the Sam Adams Brewing Company, or the Boston Beer Company, Jim Cook, has decided to brew a batch of New Albion Ale, which was Jack's beer. They're going to release that at the beginning of the year. So they had Jack out there to announce that beer and to recognize him and to really put him in a spotlight for founding what has now become an incredibly dynamic industry.
Right. Well, you go to something like the GABF and you see how many craft brewers there are today, and it's growing so fast, and you realize that it all started somewhere, right?
Right. It started with Jack. Right. And also there was a book signing at the Great American Beer Festival, and Maureen Ogle, who wrote the book Ambitious Brew, was there signing the book, and Jack was signing her book as well, because that's really where he has been mentioned lately.
Right.
That's Maureen. If it weren't for her writing that book, you know, we may still not have heard Jack's story.
Right.
But while Jack was there signing books, Don Barkley, who was the man who worked with Jack at that little bitty brewery, came up and it was a surprise to us, came up and started signing books as well, and we got some pictures and some video with him together.
It was really great.
It's really inspiring. This is an American success story who the founder of the movement sort of didn't get to share in the success, but now with the re-release of this beer, he is. And I'm really impressed by this is not a commercial, but I'm really impressed and grateful to Jim Cook and the Boston Beer Company for bringing this beer back. And we got to take home a couple of samples. Shall we open one?
Sure, let's do that.
Now, if you hear the radio show, we brewed a homebrew version of this beer. It is only 2-row malt and Cascade hops in 3 editions. So a very simple recipe, but people were really impressed at how the beer tasted for being such a basic recipe. You can smell the Cascades. Now it doesn't. Oh, cheers to Jack.
I knew out. An enjoyable, refreshing beer.
It is. Now, it is in the standards of today's, you know, hop bursting, hop bomb pale ales. It's a bit more subdued.
Yeah.
But Jim Koch described it as being Doric.
Right.
In other words, when you have columns, the Doric column is the most simple in design, and then other columns were more elaborate after that.
More embellished with design work.
But when you think about a column, you think of stability, and you think of strength, and you think of, you know, something
right
that's meant to last. And this recipe, I like it a lot.
I do too. And it's a great homebrewer's first recipe. You know, very simple. Just one malt and one hop. You start to learn about the brewing process.
Yeah. So we had a great time at the Great American Beer Festival. That's just the highlights. We thanks to everybody who came up and said hi to us.
Yeah.
And
even the stalkers.
Angie and Josh were watching you.
We're watching our backs, actually.
They're over there in the bushes.
Cheers.
But anyway, it was a great time, and we're looking forward to next time. And thanks, Andy, for coming along.
Oh, thanks for having me. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Come and visit us on the web at basicbrewing.com. You can find archive lists of both our audio and video podcasts on home brewing. You can also find our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, Introduction to Wine Kits. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Write to James at basicbrewing.com, Steve at basicbrewing.com, or just use the contact form on basicbrewing.com.
Catch it, Avery. Good girl.
That was a good one.